Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens, the screenwriting step-by-step adventure, part 46, in which we work together, kinda. You're going to watch me make a script from rough draft to finished script for a pilot drama. I'm going to let you look over my shoulders in order to give you a sense of what it is like. It is just one way to do this. It is not the only way to write a script. I just want to try and take away the scariness, the mystery, the sense that this is something that other people can do but you can't. But at the same time, making the business end really scary and intimidating and letting you think about that for yourself. That's what I'm here for. My name is Glenn Gers, and hello, we've got people on already. How cool. Hi, Wolf. I am here every Monday through Friday, if I can make it, at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to run through this project. While I'm here, I'm going to be working live in front of you, but at the same time, if you want to ask me almost anything, you can. And if you are watching this not live, if this is recorded for you, although I am alive when I recorded it, you can still ask me questions simply by going to writingforscreens.com. That is my website, where you can find Contact Me on just about every page. And if you click that Contact Me, it will open up a form that lets you contact me in the form of an email. Or if you have a resistance to going to my website, you can make a comment or ask a question here in the comments of this very video, or any video upon the channel of Writing for Screens. That is what you can do if you want to ask me a question. I will do my best to answer it, either right there in the comments or right here on the live stream, or some combination thereof. Hello, 99 Precinct. We are here to work on the last moments of just outlining. That is what I realized yesterday. This pilot outline is pretty much done. It's pretty much ready to start writing from. So today I am just going to do a little making sure that's true first by going through the overview. The overview, for those of you who may not remember, the overview is one of the types of documents that I've got here. I try to set up a bunch of basic documents that I have a place to do the different types of work. The pilot outline is where I do the pilot outline. But since a pilot is only a little part of a projected series and you have ideas for the whole series, I also have a series outline in which I throw everything that's going to happen that I think, oh, that would be cool to have happen in the series, but it's not going to be in the pilot. I'm just going to throw that into the series outline as a workplace. I'm not going to actually outline the series, but I am going to use that as a basis to write a pitch document, a summary of where the series can go, which they will want if they like your pilot. I also have these notes documents where I do my thinking out loud on paper. I like to talk to myself on the page and say, what else do I need to do before I start plunging in the deep end of the rough draft? So I will just ask myself questions and then I will answer them. That is what the notes are for. Then there's a place to do some research. This is where I just collect articles. Whenever I see an article that's roughly on the topic of the thing I'm writing, I just throw it in that. I make a PDF of it and I throw it in that research folder so that I can have a source, pictures, articles, interviews, links to websites, whatever. This is the pilot scene list. This is no longer really valid. I'm going to trash that. So look, now we only have, the archive is just where I have old stuff, like old copies of the outline, things that I've moved on from, but I want to save them because you never know. All right, so let us take a quick skim through this overview document because I have not really looked at it or cleaned it up in a long time. And before I get into the storm of writing a rough draft, I like to know that I've created my map, my markers, my plan. So the first thing we do, I took that we don't have a title yet, and I'm okay with that, but I am going to make this bigger just because it feels good. This is just a brief summary of the series as a whole. Like if somebody said, "What's this about?" and you don't have time to tell them the whole story, I would say it's a romantic comedy thriller series about a couple who fall in love when they get involved with an online amateur crime-solving community whose hunt for a serial killer provokes the killer to come after them. That's basically what you would get in the trailer. That's sort of what this thing is. That's just like the little picture to say, it's about these two people. They get accidentally involved in this group of cyber sleuths, of people who like to solve crimes online. Unfortunately, this little clique of cyber sleuths is hunting a serial killer, and they have pissed off the serial killer. So now the serial killer is coming after them, and that's where our heroes find themselves and how they fall in love as they fight their way back to life. That's what I would say. That if somebody said, "What's the show about?" That's what I'd say it's about. Main characters. Oh, forgive me. I bet that sounded loud. Main characters. The genre, the main problem of the story, and then the twist, which is that the serial killer is hunting them. That's what I consider a good short log line description. This is not a log line. It's not well written enough. It's just for me to get the basic idea. Then, this is just a little note to myself. It's like a writing note. The main thing that people are going to be doing here is trying to fix a problem, a puzzle, an intellectual problem. They're going to be investigating and puzzling and reasoning. They're going to be doing that in wacky ways because it's a romantic comedy thriller. And by the way, yes, I went back to romantic comedy thriller. This is a thing that happens a lot. You know, as you're working on something, you're grappling to conceive of it, to decide what's most important and where are you making your stand, what's the hill you're going to die on. And for me, the idea that this was I started with the idea that it's basically a romantic comedy in the form of a thriller. In other words, there's a life or death mystery plot going on, but what it's really at heart is a romantic comedy. And that I later said, it's too complicated. It's not helping me. So I stopped. I thought of it just as a thriller. But the more I think about it, I looked at it this morning and I said, it's not just a thriller. The center of this story is Madeline and Norman. That's the heart. Like that's the reason this exists. What is this the story of? And the answer is, it's about Madeline and Norman. Hello, Kirby. I will get to you guys, your question in a second. Hello, C. Merritt. I'm glad you're up at episode 7. That's okay. You're seeing the grapple. You're not crazy. That is the point of what I am doing here. I am trying to show you the crazy, grappling, struggling, messy process because it's normal. The one thing I can say, I've been doing this non-professionally for like 40 years, professionally for 25 years. I have worked in TV, I've worked in streaming, I've worked in audiobooks, I've worked all sorts of places. So I've gotten used to this process. It's a funny thing to get used to chaos, to feel completely comfortable in the grappling and mess, because if you grapple and mess often enough and then work your way through it, you have confidence that the grappling and mess is actually the game. That's actually what we do. If you're not grappling, if you're not in a mess, you're probably not writing well. You're probably just following a formula, and that will end up most likely being kind of unexciting, uninvolving. This is just my opinion, of course. There are some people who say, stick to the formula, play by the rules, copy the successes, and you will do well. And I can't say they're wrong. I don't know. I do know that an awful lot of people stick to the formula, copy the successes, and it doesn't work. I mean, and we're talking at the highest level. If you look at most of the projects that come out in any given year, most of them are sticking to some formula. They are imitating some success or following some reasonable plan for success in the arts. And what's astonishing is how many of those fail. You wouldn't think they would, but that's why it's an art and not a science. Okay, good day, Rhett. It is great to see you all here. So these are just notes I make for myself that are sort of principles. Oh, you can't see what I'm talking about. These are notes I make to myself that are sort of the principles, the how this is different from other things, or how it operates, what its physics are, what its style is. So for me, the story is a cascade of fumbles. It is about people making mistakes or having bad judgment or not understanding that what they are doing is actually possibly going to make things worse. This is not a story of somebody who has like a journey to take and they've got a goal and they're like, I'm going to make a leap to get that thing. What's actually happening here is people get into this by mistake, not realizing how bad it is going to be. And once they're in, they are fighting to get out. And that is their journey. It's not like they said, avast, ahoy there, I am going on this journey. They actually said, oh, look at that, whoa! And then they're down in it, and they have to say, I got to get out of here. And by the time they get out, they figured out what they want. That's the story. That's the conception. When I'm looking at it, I'm going to be saying, where in that arc, that journey, are they? In this pilot, they are in the part where they go, whoa, and fall in, where they say, oh, that's interesting. I could take a minute to work on this thing, to deal with this thing, and then it drags them in. By the end of the pilot, they are caught. I am imagining it as a limited hour-long series in the sense that at the end of the series, this story will be resolved. It's not that there couldn't be other sequels or seasons where these same people get involved in other things, but this particular story will be resolved, and that is what makes it a limited hour-long series. Okay, so so far all of this stuff I'm happy with. Here, this is just like I said, these are just notes to myself. I'm actually gonna make this one of these. Now, the basic idea is that Madeline, because of her relationship with George, who was the victim, is more central to the murder story. But in the relationship, it's Madeline and Norman's story. Just like a little note, and the heart is the relationship. This is important. The heart of this project is this relationship. Then here's a description of Madeline and Norman. I've talked about this before. These are what I call models. Models are just things I think this is going to be like, things I wish it would be as good as. And these are just different series and movies that have a comedy, thriller, romance tone to them. And I'm going to actually take these models and put them all the way up here. Okay. Now, so now I've got this big blank space that I don't need. Boom. Okay, so yeah, that's the main relationship, Madeline and Norman. And then here's just a brief character sketch of the main characters. There's a lot left to figure out about them. That's another thing I should talk about here. What I am going to be doing here is I am actually plunging into this a little less prepared than I would ordinarily if I was doing a job, if I was doing a project which I was going to try and sell. I would probably think some stuff out more. But that's because I like to take a long time in the outline phase. I like to spend weeks and sometimes months, often months, writing the outline, getting it to where I know what I want to do. And so then when I'm writing it and all the new problems come up, at least I've answered questions like, who is this cop? Truth is, I don't know yet, but I do know that I'll figure it out. And I actually, because the purpose of this series is the series that I'm doing here, this series, not the series that I'm writing. The purpose of this step-by-step thing is to let you see my process. I'm just going to let you see my process. I'm going to let you see what happens when I hit these things, and I really have got a lot of work yet to do. Okay, so these are the characters. These are the major moves. Major moves are sort of what I would call the central sequences, the you know, for lack of a better word, in a way they are acts, but there's probably like 8-10 of them. They're more like hunks. There's hunks of story segments. And I think if you look at most stories, screen stories, you will see that they have these hunks. They're not really acts, not in the conventional sense of major acts with major turning points. Also, the 3-act structure doesn't really apply to an episode. So therefore, I'm not doing acts. I'm doing major moves, hunks, story sections. The first section is about George and the killer and explaining who they are and then watching him die. Then we're meeting the main characters. And then we're seeing Norman step up to try and intervene on Madeline's behalf because Zena has decided to rob Madeline. And then that all comes together. We've got these 3 sections. We've got the Madeline section, we've got the Norman section, we've got the Zena and the Jets. And they're all going to come together when Norman goes to Madeline's impulsively to stop the robbery. That then leads to Madeline and Norman spending the night together and unexpectedly becoming lovers. And then the next day, they are faced with the fact that they have unexpectedly become lovers, having just met each other hours before. So they're spending some time getting to know each other. When Zena comes barging in, she talks her way into getting access to the files. They discover the secret. George did not actually have a plan for catching this killer. He just was claiming he had one. And just when they're getting their minds around that, the killer calls to say he did not do it. He's been framed. And so by the end of this episode, we have gotten these people who unexpectedly have made contact with a cold case serial killer. And now they know he exists. He knows they know he exists. They all know he didn't do the killing, but who's going to solve what? That's the end of the pilot, is the sense of, uh-oh, things are now in motion that we can't stop. The killer knows we know about him. He's going to do something about that. We have to find him before he does. That's the major moves. So then, during the course of these weeks that I've been doing this, I've sort of been talking about themes, ideas, things that you are trying to get emotions, ideas into the story. Themes are feelings and thoughts. That's what themes are. They are not puzzles. They are not Easter eggs. They may show up in them, but the truth is a theme is more like an underlying feeling, an underlying idea. And there can be several. In this case, I've got the idea that why do we love serial killers? And this is somewhat controversial. Some of my listeners have said we don't, but I'm going to say we do. The truth is there is a culture in subculture in our culture that finds serial killers entertaining, fascinating, kind of a fun escape from life. And this is a story about confronting the reality of these serial killers. So I am just reformulating this. Okay. And within that is the sense of when you make crime, war, any sort of bad thing into entertainment, you tend to you tend to disrespect the people who are suffering truly under this thing, and I wanted to get into that. I also wanted to get into, by the way, these headlines are the notes on the themes. I also wanted to get into the sense of acceptance, of needing to accept our lives. I can live with that, is the way I put it. I'm going to make that a quote so that we understand. That's something that the characters say. Just that you don't solve everything. You don't save the world. You'll escape from life, all right, Shane Stark says. And yeah, if you mess too much with serial killers, you could indeed, these people are in danger of actually escaping from life itself by being killed by the serial killer. And so I just want to deal with this concept that at the end of the day, at the end of this story, we have not defeated evil and made everything. Another thing I want to talk about is online intimacy. The fact that in this moment of our culture and world, a lot of people know and meet and deal with a lot of other people exclusively through screens, online. We are. At this minute, we are doing this thing. And I just want to deal with it. I don't know how much I'll get to deal with these things. It's certainly not in the pilot too much, but I want to have them in my head. This is something to think about. And the way that you get a theme out of your head and out of your notes and into the show and therefore into the audience, the way that you get that is by making the characters have feelings about it, making the characters confront it or deal with it, having the characters have opinions on it so that they're trying to sort out their feelings about online intimacy or about serial killers. And there's a dishwasher safe. This is not really a full theme. It's more like a part of this. The idea, I don't know, of safe domestic lucky people who can have things be so safe that dishwasher safe is a phrase that we hear as in, can you put that in the dishwasher? But Madeline has had an issue with wanting to be safe, and so I wanted to get that in there. Okay. So then, I took all the title stuff and I put it down at the bottom because I'm just not prepared to get into that yet. I began it, and now we're going to look as we write and see if a title comes to us. That is, I've gone through the overview. I've got my marching orders from me to me. And so on Monday, I think I'm going to start the process of writing the script. it's gonna be slow, folks. It takes a long time to write a script, and that's when you're spending hours a day, 4 to 6 hours a day. If you are a full-time professional writer, it's not unusual to sit there and work on this stuff, and I'm not gonna do that here. So I don't know what that's gonna mean. It might be fun. It might be like, hey, I'm working much faster than I thought. I don't need to spend so many hours. I don't know. So let me get to a couple of questions. Kirby asked, what does the plot thickens mean? It's an old phrase. It may actually be a quote from something. I wouldn't surprise me if it turned out to be Shakespeare or something. But basically, the plot thickens is a weird expression that means gets more complicated. That's really all it means. The plot gets more complicated than you expected or than it was. That's really all it was. Thickens in the sense that when you're cooking a soup or something, it can be a good thing when the ingredients come together and thicken. I don't really know why it's an old British phrase from British English literature. At some point 200-300 years ago, somebody wrote, the plot thickens, and it became a phrase. It just means the plot gets more complicated. I write till I feel like I'm going to fall out of my chair. I envy you. I wish I could do that. I can't sit here that long. I have to get up and think, go back, and then come back to it. So that is today's excitement. That is today's hullabaloo. I'm ready to go. I'm going to go. I'm going to take a weekend, and then on Monday, I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to start writing the draft. I'm going to open up this text. I'm probably going to do the text in, let's see, that's in Pages. I am probably going to write this in Final Draft. I don't even have the most recent Final Draft, but so you are not required to use Final Draft. I'll talk more about it on Monday. And certainly you're not required to have Final Draft to watch this. That's crazy town. So that's it. That is where we are headed. I'm going to stop. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you next week when we begin writing.